or as I like to call it, how to make sure that robots don't steal our jobs, right? Do we all agree? I know that when many people hear digital skills, they actually get a bit afraid. They are wondering, are we going to have people taking over our roles? Instead of you sitting there, is it going to be a robot having a communication with me and all of that? But we're going to be talking more about that as we go along. So because of time, I'm going to jump right in. Please welcome Mr. Kiari Bukhar, CEO of Inlax Limited. Mr. Collins Onuegbu, Executive Chairman of Signal Alliance Technology Holdings. Looking very demure, as they like to say. Mr. Wole Adeniyi, CEO of Stanbic IBTC Bank. And Mrs. Sadiya Aminu, CEO, Urban Shelter Nigeria Limited. Okay, so what's going to happen is I am going to go around with one round of questions, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions from the floor. So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. It's a round of questions. Please, this technology, our microphone cannot disgrace us. Please. It doesn't work like that. Okay. All right. So my very first question is for you, Mr. Book. Okay. All right. So, sir, my very first question is for you, and it says, what innovative strategies can organizations employ to finance digital skill development for their workforce, especially in the face of the changing technology landscape?
Thank you. I think financing of digital skills is, number one, the adoption of digital transformation or digital technology is something that cannot be wished away. It's here and it's here to stay. And a company that doesn't embrace that may actually go by the ways of dinosaurs. So it's absolutely important that organizations embrace the journey, the digital transformation journey. Now, it requires things that one must do, which is adaptation. And the most important component or the most important asset a company has are the people. And skilling the people properly in accordance with the vision of the organization. And in some instances, if the organization is large enough, they do have training budgets and what have you. But there has to be purposeful and deliberate methodology in adopting and deploying digital technology to their employees. And in the process, one would discover that there are some people that are dinosaurs even within the organization. Some of the baby boomers, like some of my colleagues, they may actually require different kinds of skills that may actually ask them to leave the organization and become part of the ambassadors of the organization. But in the process, there are people that would adapt, learn, and be contributing to the growth of the organization. Now, the problem that most people have is that they believe that automation and digital transformation means less jobs. The way I look at it is that it actually creates more opportunities. There are some positions that do not exist today that would exist, ethicists, engineers for AI or whatever. I was having a discussion with my 17-year-old and he discussed some things that I have no clue what he's talking about. But all I know is that he wants to go into coding, which to me as an old programmer, I knew what that is. But he is talking about what AI and ML are going to bring. And so the destination of the professions that would emerge in the next 10 or so years are things that do not exist today. And therefore organizations need to see that path and be ready to embrace it. Otherwise, they would be left by the roadside.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that very insightful contribution. So I'm going to go to you, Mr. Adini, because before we came on stage, we were actually talking about this, and you were talking about your organization and some of the things that you're doing. So I'm going to ask you this question. As AI continues to impact global jobs, what are your strategies for preparing your workforce for the inevitable shift within the financial sector?
Thank you. Um, in terms of impact of digital skills, what has happened is that digital skills and AI has led to advancement in productivity. It's fast-tracked it. So statistics shows that digital economy will form 25% of GDP by 2030. Digital economy. And if you take it back to Nigeria, financial services, digital and telecommunication services have seen double digit in GDP growth. And that means digital skills that is needed to accelerate growth in this area are actually much in need. And so what most financial services, what they've done, and I'll go into AI, is that they have to look at their business model and change it. So there's no financial services. And when I talk financial services, I'm talking of insurance, pension, the MFBs, the fintech. Fintechs are digital natives. They were born native. But the incumbents have gone into digital transformation. No one hasn't got into digital transformation. So with that, there's now a need for you to now have the skills of the future for those people. In the last 3 months, if you notice, yesterday, GT Bank went live on their core banking. Last month or two, Zenith the same. Last 1 month or two, Sterling. Why? There's massive amount of transformation that's happening. Why are they changing those platforms? They want to make them competitive and digitally relevant. For our organization, 99% of our transactions happen on the digital platform. Only 1%, 99%. Only 1% is manual, where people have to do brick and mortar, come to the branch to. My bet is that in the next 5 years, 30 to 40% of bank branches will become experience centers. It's going to happen because I won't want to share our statistics because of some concern. But what have we done and what are we doing? And I'll relate it to AI. So in order to do that, what we've done, we went through digital transformation. We did what they call a future-ready transformation, where all the staff in the institution were trained on digital capability. So we had a program with Salesforce, where we had everyone, including board members, become what they call a Salesforce Ranger. So there are 4 skills that you get from that: digital literacy, data literacy, use of collaboration tool, and cybersecurity awareness. So we got everybody together. Then even some senior leadership did an MIT digital transformation program. In addition to that, our graduate trainees, we've been having graduate trainees for 30 years. But in the last 5 years, we went through a process where we have digital graduate trainees targeted at people with digital skills to fast track our digital transformation. So we have that. So we have a stream different from the normal graduate trainees, but this. Then we have a public service, I will call, in order to increase the digital skills in the society. So we have a program called DICEP, Stanbic IBC Digital Skills Empowerment Program. We've trained about 700 people for the country, and these people, they have different area of skills: cloud computing, data analytics, coding, different area, and we work with different partners where they actually train these people and then they make them available. Maybe out of the 7, we are now in the 5th cohort or 4th cohort. Out of those people, we've recruited 5% of them for our institution, and the rest are in the labor market to support this. When it comes to AI, it's the same process, and AI is going to accelerate. In fact, there's an AI publication called AI Landscape in Nigeria. I actually wrote the introduction. It's done by a group called AI in Nigeria. I think it's in the public domain. You can read them. So they've done what is the opportunity in the AI landscape. But the biggest thing for the AI transformation is about governance because of the ethical use of that. You have to put the AI governance in place. Haven't done the AI governance in place, then you look at your strategy, then how to now, one of the biggest thing about AI will be the need to create an AI-safe environment where people will be psychologically safe to do a lot of things with AI. Then the retooling and the capability then is done. It's inevitable that AI will, and maybe my final point, in my organization, we have robots that have staff ID.
Wow.
They have ID. It's only that they are not paid salary. They don't go for lunch. They don't have lunch break, but they work every day. They work 24 hours, but they have staff ID. So there are processes that we've automated to that level that are being done by technology today.
Are those robots being managed by HR?
They don't go on leave. And they don't get bonus.
I think we should give Stanbic IBTC a round of applause. Very, very interesting to hear all the amazing things you're doing and your future forward activities. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Mrs. Aminu, over to you. So my question for you is, in sectors that are traditionally seen as less tech-driven, like real estate, right? How are you future-proofing your organization with digital skills and embracing innovation?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. So for context, I guess this would be construction, real estate, agriculture, mining. Your mining shaft can't be an experience center. The farmland can't be an experience center. And I can assure you the construction site we have across Abuja and the whole of Nigeria cannot be experience center. So I agree, I think, to acknowledge that some of these traditional, though what I call fundamental sectors that actually drive the economy, perhaps are what I call behind the curve, but not necessarily that they are not technology driven. Especially when you look at, say, my expertise is real estate. So when you look at the value chain of real estate, it is littered with technology. The fintech, of course, that's a big one. And then prop tech, property technology has become a very big buzzword in the last few years. And a quick example is how it can even drive your decision making. I hope there's nobody here from Dangote or Bua. So big data that we mine, and this is maybe an urban shelter thing. I work for a company called Urban Shelter. Big data tells us which cement we should and shouldn't use. Big data tells us which kind of paint would last better for Nigeria, Abuja's heat, but not the humidity in Lagos. Thank you. Love that clapping. Thank you. And so that's the kind of thing that the big data, that technology, that digitalization does for you. Another example on digitalization that I love is Nigeria's landmass. I think you can fit something like France twice, and I think England 3 times in Nigeria's landmass. But we've only digitalized, thanks to people like GIZ contributing funding, about 10 to 13, 14% of Nigeria's entire landmass. I'm glad that there was silence so you can hear the pin drop. So how do you plan when you don't know what you have? So again, they are traditional, but they are fundamental. It is so important to understand that we need to drag some of these traditional sectors into the 21st century. Like Mr. Kyari says, when you fail to do that, then we have one leg still in the dinosaur age, one leg still in now the 4th industrial stage. So we're really lagging behind. There are studies done, like Mr. Wale said, there is a number of studies done about the obvious effectiveness, productivity, efficiency that happens when you go digital. The fear, of course, is that, yes, a robot may replace my job. So what does that mean? Do we then need to look at the ability for us to invest in ourselves? Back again to Urban Shelter where I work. What we've done is to really devote time, energy. And yes, even though we are only about 400 strong, there has been a divide where the younger generation have jumped on this with ease, whereas some of us were dragged kicking and screaming. We instituted 6, 7 years ago, and I don't know how it happened. Well, no, it was strategic, but it became more so important once COVID hit. We digitalized a lot of our platforms so that we're working on an ERP system that allows us interconnectivity within ourselves, both internally and externally. And then there were certain teams that were fantastic examples. The design team, there are 14 of them. And a particular month, the head of the design team said, none of us are going to be around. So-and-so's having a baby. So-and-so's doing this. La, la, la. We would like a month off. The traditionalist in me said, no. Then I said, give me a day. Gave them a day. Thought about it. And I said, go ahead. They were all away. 14 members of staff were away for a month. We didn't miss them. We were all online, whether it was from basic WhatsApp to using our BIM. This is building information modeling. It's a huge deal in construction. We were looking at things like how we handled our green technologies. We were looking at what kind of sources for our sustainable building materials. We were interacting with each other. We miss them physically because it's a human factor to look at each other in the eye, to shake your hand. But we didn't miss them in terms of a dip of productivity. And they were also more present now with their families. And this was transformative, absolutely transformative. I can't begin to tell you. We also do something at the very basic level at Urban Shelter. If you're taking studies that align with Urban Shelter, that align with technology, that align with digitalization and future AI productivity, we would give you 75% scholarship for that, for local schools. For international schools, for international, we would, and that's why what's happening in the Naira, we pay 25% towards that. And that's for a study that you drive. For studies that Urban Shelter drives, we absolutely pay 100%. I'm so excited to say our engineers now are graduating in masters in renewable energy. something that 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been a consideration. So, and this is just real estate. Same thing can be handled for things like agriculture. Where are the migration routes? Where are the water routes? What's meteorology telling us? This is all driven by digitalization, by technology, and by innovation. Lastly, I think we should demystify these words. It's very intimidating when you approach the average Nigerian and say, we're going digital. But my brother in Kebbi or my in-law in Abakaliki, taking their phone, thanks to the absolute revolution of communication and fintech, to transfer funds to, I don't know, his feed supplier, he is already in a digitalized age. So I think we should celebrate some of these people that perhaps it doesn't need to be so sophisticated, but actually they're driving change, they're driving productivity in every single aspect.
Oh, microphone. Okay, thank you. What? Okay. So this microphone is trying to cause issues. Technology will not get us. We'll get technology back. Okay. Mr. Collins, my final question is to you, and then we'll open up the floor for audience questions. So with the increasing trend of brain drain, one of our favorite questions, Japa syndrome, what measures can businesses take to retain top talent while ensuring they stay competitive in the global markets?
Maybe they should hire robots.
That's a good one.
Look, I think every company has to decide what it can control and what it doesn't control. I don't control the concept of Japan. So in my company today, I run a tech company, and the good side of tech is that we're digitizing everybody. The bad side is that everybody we train wants to leave because the skills there are globally competitive. So you can't control that. So the Japan syndrome, I hope it will run its course for a while and then stop. But while we're at that transition stage, I think everybody has to make up their mind what to do. In my company, every month we measure our, what is it called? When you lose people? Attrition rate. So we kept an attrition rate register for the past maybe a couple of years. And what we decided was that, yeah, we're going to lose people. But how do we make sure that in our industry we lose one of the people that lose the least? So we're not so much worried that we're going to lose people, because we're going to lose people. Before, there was a time in my company we were quite small, and those days when you wake up in the morning and see a letter of resignation, it just spoils your week or your month or something. But these days, we're taking it as part of, this is what it is. We're going to lose people. Sometimes we'll forward hire. We started an internship program in my office 15 years ago. We have people who have stayed for those 15 years in the company since then, despite the fact of attrition. And what it has done for us is that we're fairly stable in terms of, because we kind of forward hire with interns. And it has helped us a lot. The second thing that we're talking about training here, I think that we're a training organization. We have to train our people. We have to make sure that we also digitize our systems in such a way that when you really digitize your system, it means that, as I said, maybe you have robots that are working for you, or you have systems that are so simple that even when people leave, they stay. The last thing I would like to say is that in my office today, we have people that work for us from all over the world. Because a lot of times when our staff leave today, we find out when you transition abroad, it takes about 6 months, 1 year to really transit. And what we've done is that all these people work for us till they're really ready to transit. So we have people that we have people in Saudi Arabia, we have people in Canada, we have people in all over the world working for us in the system. So even when they transit fully, they still want to be in our system. So they become advocates for us. And sometimes we don't mind losing people to people like you, because when we lose to them, they become ambassadors. We've done a program in the office to look at all those who left our company over the years and try to find where they are. Look, it's not original to us. The consulting companies do that. I don't know. The consulting companies do that. Make sure that at some point, I'm attending a program here by a company tomorrow on Thursday, and the CIO there came to our internship system. So everywhere we go today, we see people who came to our internship system who become advocates for the company. So I'm not afraid of people leaving the company. I'm not afraid of people Japan. I think sometimes it's an advantage. Sometimes it also lets us leave people, get people out of the system. Those who don't want to stay, when they want to go abroad, we're very happy they're going abroad. I don't think anybody should panic about Japan. There are 200 million Nigerians. If you look at the real number of people who live every year, maybe how much? 200,000 people? It doesn't dent the population in any way. So I think it's an opportunity for the country to retrain people, to make sure that as many people as possible leave, but while those who stay can still run the system.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Collins, for your valuable insights as well. Okay, so we're going to open the floor up for questions from the audience. I believe there's a microphone somewhere, okay? If anybody would like to ask a question, can you kindly raise your hand and our lovely hostess will bring you a microphone. There's a hand over here. And actually there's two. There's two hands here. If you could please keep your question as short and sharp as possible, because as you open that notebook, I was very afraid. A whole text. Oh, it's not.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. So I will try and make justice to your suggestion because I actually had a lot of things to ask here. But so CEO of, I think, Stanbic.
Stanbic,
Yes. So you mentioned to have robots as part of your staff. Well, it looks great on the aspect of efficiency for your business, but there is this general thing that revolves around the use of technology, which is that fear. So how do you manage to let your staff know that at a point in time, all of these robots will not actually take their jobs? So how do they work with that mindset at the back of their heads? Thank you.
Thank you.
A very good question. Should I just put that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Very good question. And the concept of productivity is basically what drives that. And there is, like I told you, in our organization, we did what they call a digital transformation program, where actually everybody embraced. Study has shown that if you improve your digital skills, you release 24 days annually of efficiency to yourself. So if ordinarily you can quantify that, you can actually go on leave. So if your leave days in a year is 25 days, you can add additional 24 days by using robotic capability or AI. For instance, I'm a very big user of AI. The amount of time saved by the use of co-pilots is massive. If you finish a meeting before, you have somebody that reports on the meeting. But if you finish a meeting, in the minute that meeting is finished, somebody will press a button, and all of you on that meeting will get a report, including what they said and what they didn't say, yeah? To your name, to the action you as a person are supposed to carry out at the press of a button. What has happened is that has increased productivity to the next level. So, and what have we done? We had a side conversation before that, so there are 3 R's that we deploy when it comes to digital transformation and people. 1, we retrain. 2, we redeploy. 3, we release. That means the dinosaurs that are not willing to change, what will happen? But we don't just release. What we do is that if you fall into that category of the release, the 3 R's, your category is the release. So what happened is that we'll retrain you in entrepreneurial skills. And then when you have the retraining, that means you can go into another vocation that you can pursue. Then we support you with microloans to be able to do that. So it's something that the whole environment, you see everybody in the staff, right from the board, they wear their Rangers jacket maybe to just show you they are digitally aware and they are aligned with digital transformation. So it increases efficiency. So you see what happened. We talk of remote work. Now you talk of people work-life balance. It enables that because those robots are able to supplement the things that the people are doing.
Thank you.
Can I just?
Yes, please.
You pointed at me about co-pilot, so I have to make a comment. So you're a CEO of a bank. I also want to talk about the experience of another CEO of a bank because we help a lot of banks move to co-pilot and AI stuff.
Sorry, can you just say what co-pilot is for those in the room who may not know?
Okay. Copilot is the AI engine for Microsoft. So most banks in Nigeria. So we are appointed as the partner in this region to help them roll it out. And we did this for a large bank, and had this community day where they got all their staff to join through digital means on a session the whole day to onboard on Copilot. And I was with the MD of the bank, and he says his biggest worry after using Copilot was that the things he used to do before, it now takes him, things that sometimes take weeks, it takes him just a few hours to do it. And he's saying, what am I going to do with my people? Okay? But it's not going to fire everybody. I think what is going to happen is that the increased productivity will absorb those people. There are some people that have to get out of the system, but the increased productivity will absorb those people and then make sure that the bank, for what they could do before, I think they should double there, whether it's revenue or so. What you have to measure is what is the increased productivity you have gained by using this, not worrying about who is going to get lost. And this conversation around robots taking over jobs, again, I don't think we should worry about it too much, because as a tech person, for the past, I've been in the tech system for about 30 years. And every 5 years, we've gone through a transformation. Every 5 years, we've gone through a transformation. And each one that comes, there's always the fear that we're going to lose all the jobs around us. And then we create more jobs at the end of the day. So robots will be there. I think that there'll be robots in the system at some point. It will be more important for countries like where the population, like Japan, where the population is going down. So if you think about healthcare, they have to get robots to take care of healthcare, the kind of things we don't want human beings to do, the kind of things that sometimes people Japan to go and do in Nigeria, they will find robots that will do that. But overall, I don't think we should worry about this. And the world will always take care of itself. People will get employed. And people will always get employed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There was another question.
My name is Chuma Mwankwo. I work as a regional human resource manager for Africa for Mediterranean Shipping Company. I have two questions, and I'll make them quick because of time. The first is the concern. I think the moderator started by asking if your robots are managed by HR. But I tell you, there are serious discussions already and concerns about a different set of problems and challenges. How, as HR, do I assess the talent potential in the organization? If people can use digital assistants like Copilot or ChatGPT, and they can edit, summarize, even make suggestions, and then he presents that to you, and you're making an assessment of potential. So there are questions there, and HR is already in transition. Performance management, the same thing. You assign some projects or some work to be done. It's done beautifully that you're clapping and giving all the credit, and yet not much has been contributed by either the team members or so. So these concerns are there. The second quick question is around just and fair transition, which is seriously being discussed and promoted by the International Labour Organization. Because there's a purpose for work from a policy-making perspective. And it will not just be about the economic value additions and so on, the decisions that have to be made in these transitions. I'm not going to talk about autonomous weapons and all those kinds of biases that are trained into the machine and so on. But it's more about this transition has to be done fairly. There are questions around the standards. Some think that standards are already too late. Some are also from the perspective that if you set standards too early, it will stifle innovation. So there's a balance somewhere in between. So I really like us to take this into consideration as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Who would like to respond? Yes.
I think the most important thing about the conversation that we are having, particularly looking at it from the HR perspective and philosophically speaking also in general, is that for an economy that, for those of us that have attended the plenary session yesterday, the chief economist of the World Bank mentioned about productivity as a key vehicle for Nigeria's transformation. Now, however we get it, we need to deploy it. So the concern about the human element and the fairness and the transparency and all of that will actually become another problem that we need to tackle as human beings. And generally speaking, that's how I see digital transformation and how technology had been over the years. I mean, hose and cards were all technologies that came and displaced certain other things. And at that time, people would say, then what am I going to do with the time that I'm going to have? Just like the CEO of that bank. But the thing is that as productivity comes in and the tools become accessible, the KPIs, the bars rise, and the expectation from the analysts in the capital markets changes, and so on and so forth. So that vicious cycle would continue, or virtuous, if you want to characterize it that way, because I always look at it positively rather than looking at it negatively. So the vista of opportunities that these technologies are bringing should be embraced, and with little or no fears. The ethical aspect we have to give consideration, just like compliance and regulations kick in, we need to be cognizant of those. Thank you very much.
Can I just add to it? Two quotes. You know, and yesterday I think the chairman of the NASD mentioned, it said, you cannot solve a problem at the same level of intelligence which you create it. You need to move to a higher level of intelligence. So there is a need for a mindset shift, totally, even from an HR perspective, about the new skill sets of the future. You need to change, truly. The second quote says that the illiterate of 21st century is somebody that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Right. So, yeah. So it's that transformation that everybody needs to go to. And I gave you the example of my company. To get everybody in the mindset, everybody went through a data transformation journey. And for you to become a Salesforce Ranger, and this started from the group, I'm part of a group, Standard Bank Group, the biggest financial services company in Africa. It started from him. He first got certified as a Salesforce Ranger, where you will spend like almost 40 hours of studying to be able to become a Salesforce Ranger at the highest level to get those skills. So it becomes, your minds become adaptable. And anybody that does not become that, so even from an HR perspective, they are quickly adaptable. Because for those things, there are AI that will totally destroy. So if you look at the HR function, there are AI that will totally disrupt everything. Let me give you this example. There is a capability of AI that can, if I'm employing you, won't you take that tool? That AI can predict that if this guy joined this bank today, he will most likely commit fraud by year 7. And you can predict. Yeah. And then what happened? Will you hire the person? No. But AIs are predicted. And there are school of thoughts that have kind of proven over time that is correct. So will you hire the person? So what AI is doing is that it's just going to transform everyone. Thank you so much.
But I hope, one second, please. But look, I just want to say something. Please don't frighten. These people were already frightened before you got here. And now you're creating more fun. But my point is, look, if you look at Nigeria today, the number of companies that have been digitally transformed in Nigeria, I don't think it's up to 10%. So I hear him when he talks about his bank. They are very well transformed. They've been transformed forever. But for most people here are possibly running SMEs or working in SMEs. My company is an SME. We are less than 200 people. And it would be nice to talk about digital transformation in terms of the average company in Nigeria. Yes. Those average companies are not adopting AI the next day because you see, AI sits on top of something. So you have to go through some level of digital transformation before you layer AI on top of it. So a lot of people are expressing fears that it's going to come into the future, but their fear today should be, are you digitally transformed at the level you should be right now? Because that's the promise of actually productivity. And in my office, we used to focus before on the companies like yours because they were the people that paid our bills. One big deal, well, okay. But in the past 3 or 4 years, we've maybe tripled the number of customers we have by going down the chain. And there you see that there's a lot of work that needs to be done when you're running a small company. Because at that point, you don't have a CIO, the Chief Information Officer, who will help you drive that. So you're the CIO as the CEO, you're also the CIO who drives transformation. So it's a little more difficult at that level. I think that's important for us to talk about that because that is where a lot of work needs to be done. The millions or thousands of small and mom and pop shops and smaller companies that need to use digital tools and also need to train their own people to use those tools and to be able to transform their businesses before you start worrying about AI. So AI worry is important, but let's not overemphasize it because Nigeria is not digitally, and this is the private sector. If you go to the public sector, it was. And one of the biggest problems we have today is that, suppose you have a child who graduates today, digital native, and he gets employed in a federal ministry where they are not even using email. And I hear some government officials talking about AI this, AI that. They don't have email, secure email. And I'm talking about robots. So I think that if we have to have this conversation, we have to start from the level of making sure that every company, every organization has people that have been trained, that are digital natives, to the point where they can do it both in their private life. Because private life today, you have WhatsApp, you have your smartphone, then you get into the office, you keep it away because your office is using one archaic stuff that they have. So I think bridging that gap between the companies like yours and every other company there, and then even the public sector, is the journey we have to go through.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we had one question here. Okay,
Yeah,
can you make it very sharp, please?
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, I make it sharp because the last speaker already addressed some of the things I wanted to say. My name is Chinwe Efyang. I'm CEO of an organization that works with youth to amplify technology. When the first speaker talked about digitalization and automation is inevitable, I say that a lot, but I question it. And we talk a lot about mobile technology and leapfrogging, but there were several factors that helped that leapfrogging, right? There was access to mobile phones, the reduction in price. Similarly with AI, we need access to internet connectivity. I've done a lot of programs, nonprofit programs, where I circumvent because they're wasting time. This is one that we India has an AI for all program, for instance. The EU has a digital EU program. What are we doing in Nigeria and how are we facilitating those conversations? Electricity was developed 150 years ago, and yet 43% of Nigerians don't have access to electricity. So it may not be inevitable.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
So there are areas why those transformation has to happen or the transition has to happen. But there are areas in Nigeria and some sectors that we've been able to leapfrog despite those inherencies. I think one of the things, if you look at, I don't know, on the opening session yesterday, they were looking at mobile, one of the things that NSG has done, mobile telephony. 25 years ago, we were queuing in that type of phone. That's the type of phone we're using. But by forcing, I think they actually use the word force the government to privatize Nitel, right? What happened? It changed, it was a leapfrog. So it doesn't mean that we have to go step by step into, from a transformation perspective to get to this point. And Vice President said it yesterday. He said we missed industrial revolution. We missed the first revolution, second, third, fourth revolution. Now here, we can't miss it. And if you look at telephony, that's what happened. If you not do that disruption that happened in that telecom sector, we can bring that disruption in technology today by leapfrogging a lot of things. And the simplest, I've never used a checkbook in the last 15 years. You will never see me with paper. The simplest form of digital transformation is to stop to use paper. You will never see me with paper.
Sir, I think it's safe to say that you are actually a digital native. That is this guy.
I was a born dinosaur.
Yeah, this guy.
I was a born dinosaur.
You're actually a native because
I was a born dinosaur, but I transformed. So I understand those concerns, but there are some trigger points. One thing, there was no Ministry of Digital Economy. Yeah. It was created. Nigeria today has an AI strategy. It's being put in place. I think it's just and so my concluding remarks on this, so it was preparing for this and I was putting my concluding remarks. Yes. Is that this transformation needs our educational institutions. How do we even engage? And I agree with you when we even spoke that, okay, they cannot, my brother in KB, my brother in Lagos, they are two different environments. Oh, yeah. One has power, one doesn't have power. One has access to mobile technology, one doesn't have. But if you see at the very micro level, it's possible. Final point. PalmPay, OPay came into this market, MoneyPoint, in the last 3 to 5 years. First Bank has been here for over 100 years. PalmPay, OPay, in the last 5 years, they acquired 50 million, 35 million customers.
Yeah.
In the same challenging environment.
Right.
MoneyPoint has deployed more POS than all the banks in
Anybody
Nigeria
else.
put together
Correct.
in the last 3 years. How have they been able to do it? They've been able to bridge the divide. So it's possible.
Thank you so much.
And if I may, just quickly, yeah, give me one more. The inevitability is there. We cannot, if we put our head in the sand as a nation, digital transformation will still happen. So it's inevitable. Now, the point, I want to connect your second point with the first, which is that government need to be deliberate and know that this is critical and be part of the conversation. Unfortunately, it's not, even with what the VP had said. So I hand it over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Shola Shoreji. I work with Leadway. From the conversation, I've heard only deployment of AI and Copilot for banks. So I just wanted to find out, how can you deploy the use of AI and Copilot for a group of companies like insurance, trusteeship, and all of that? So that's my question.
Okay, so that's a great question, but I don't know that we're going to have the time. I was going to say that, sir, do you mind having a conversation with her about that offline? Because I feel like that's quite an extensive question and we don't really have much time. So she had a quick comment as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's done.
sorry, did we miss it? Okay. Sorry about that.
I do apologize that I started with that. It's because waiting and I was told to wait for my turn.
Please
My
go
name
ahead.
is
Thank
Maurice Atoki. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of ABC Health. ABC Health was founded by Liko Dangote. You did ask if anybody was working with him. And Iboje Imokede in partnership. I just wanted to add that while you were really actually agreeing on leapfrogging, what I have experienced is also that there will come a time, whether public sector or private sector, that leaders would appreciate more those who have digital skills. Because when we ask for work and somebody goes to use AI to get his work done better, while some people, especially the dinosaurs, complain, oh, he's not supposed to use AI. At the end of the day, it's the quality of the work that matters. And we will, by default, get to like that person more. But that's what I see the most in public sector is going to happen. One day, the vice president is going to give tax to 2 people. One person is going to leverage digital technology, another person will not. And he would appreciate that person more. It's just a matter of time. So the fact is that it's going to happen. It's inevitable completely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we can take just one more based off of, oh, wow. Be very quick. Just go ahead.
So, afternoon. So I'll just a quick comment because we've been speaking quite a lot about leapfrogging and mobile telephony. And I just want to make the comment to reinforce what this lady here said. What really disrupted telephony was not the privatization of NITO. It was the issue of the 4 licenses to the mobile companies. And it was and because they were sort of private sector led, and I speak from the experience of being an investor at the time, they were able to bypass government in a sense because it was commercially profitable to set up towers and build those businesses. Now, what we're talking about now, we have to have government involved because to roll out fiber optic, the backbone infrastructure for digitalization requires subsidized funding because otherwise it will never get out to more than that 14–15% of Nigeria. So it is essential that government is involved. It is essential that the curriculum in schools to emphasize maths from a basic level right up, all of that is, so it needs to be a collaborative effort. It is not, I mean, I'm on the board of a bank as well. And yes, banks have deep pockets and can invest in their people and do all the good things that you guys are doing, but it will never get beyond where it needs to get to unless everybody's involved.
He stood up.
Thank you very much. My name is Tasu Ibrahim. I'm a surgeon and MD of hospital. I love the message of hope around it that is coming, but the fear is real. And I believe if at this stage we should surrender our healthcare to the AI, a lot of things will go wrong. And in that, like the IBTC person, I established probably the first paperless hospital. Now the task we are on, my software developer asked me to juxtapose the AI as we are making input on the electronic management record. We are not surrendering our input and we are not taking its diagnosis. But at the end, where we come to the stage of diagnosis, there is what we call differential diagnosis. And naturally, a doctor may recall after everything, maybe up to 3 differentials. But with AI, we will see 10. And when those 10s are there, it will maybe strike a thinking that not the 3 I'm thinking, it should be that one, and that will help. And in the long run, that will help to train our AI in the African context, so that we have what we call tropical medicine. If you train in the West, come back to Nigeria to diagnose malaria, but we know in Nigeria it's easier, so we are trying to make our input so that we train the AI to domesticate it in our own African context. And I think it's real, so let's take it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for your time. Unfortunately, 2 of our panelists have a hard stop, so we have to end here, but we're going to have 2 more panelists in the room who you can feel free to come and ask your questions. Can we please give them a round of applause for a very enlightening session? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well done, well done.
we have some speakers who are waiting behind. You can still ask questions. So just be patient in the next 5 minutes. Thank you. Some speakers are still around. So if you have questions, they are happy to answer.
We're doing